What is up, everybody? You are watching Straight Facts from Ritchie and Ciro. I'm Ciro, my boy.
Richie.
Let's get straight into the facts. Kick it off for us, Richie.
So starting off with the men's college basketball recap here. Georgetown over number 17 Villanova 85-73. Jesse Govan with 21 points and 11 rebounds. Mac McClung, the freshman, 21 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and he's averaging just 13 points a game, so he was able to improve right there. As for Villanova, Phil Booth, the senior, had 26 points. But still wasn't enough. Georgetown 16-10 on the season, able to snap a 2-game losing streak, as Villanova has lost 2 straight and 3 out of their last 4.
I mean, both teams have definitely not been having the season that they wanted, especially Nova, for sure. But Georgetown, they started off with a lot of expectations, of course, signing Mac McClung, who took a while to announce, but once he said Georgetown, everybody was ready for that. Because in high school, Mac McClung was a phenom. Everyone was around him, and everyone knew about him. And he was just so exciting to watch. And this year, I mean, averaging 13, like you said, not expected, but still a solid performance for someone like Mac McClung.
And besides, he's just a freshman,
and he does
so
play.
He can improve.
Yeah, and he plays different styles than your usual all-star. He can not only shoot great, but he's known for his driving. He's not a spot-up shooter like Cam Reddish, but he can definitely drive and facilitate what needed. Of course, he kind of runs the 2, so it's not always needed from him. But I think that this was just overall a huge win for the Hoyas. And, of course, I think Georgetown, this is not the season that they expected, because going into it, I remember the hype was real, of course. And I think, like you said, snapping that 2-game losing streak, that'll definitely help them.
Florida over number 13 LSU 82-77 in overtime. Kavon Allen leading the way with 21 points, knocking down 5 out of his 9 3-point shots. 12 out of his 21 points came in the overtime. As for LSU, Skylar Mays with 18 points and 3 rebounds, and the freshman Naz Reid 16 points, 15 rebounds.
So we already know about Big Chelly, of course, but LSU, they're another team that just hasn't been having the big season that we all wanted them to have, really. And of course, they never have been a huge basketball team, and I've always said that with them. But I think that with they had Shaq, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, like that. They never really been we talk about here on just dynasties, and LSU has never really been a huge powerhouse. And of course, same with Florida. I mean, they had Joe Kim and Al Horford, big centers.
And they won those 2 rings?
Yeah. And of course, with Florida though, what I will say is just a big performance in OT. I love watching college basketball OT, just because, the first half and second half of college basketball, just the way that goes, it's a little different if you're used to watching a lot of NBA.
First half can be a little boring.
Yeah, it really can, because anything can happen in the second, and that's totally what happened. And of course, leading to OT, just a big dub.
Next one here, Syracuse over number 18 Louisville 69-49. Elijah Hughes leading the way with 18 points, 6 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks. O'Shea Brissett, 16 points, 8 rebounds, and the coach's son, Buddy Boeheim, coming off the bench with 14 points, knocking down 4 out of his 19 3-point shots.
I mean, that's that's a little ridiculous, but of course it works, I guess, not for him, but for the team. And 4 for 19.
No, 4 for 9.
Okay, I was going to say 4 for 9, all right. That's a little better.
Yeah, 4 for 19 would be crazy.
I was okay.
That would never happen.
I was like, oh man, how are you gonna do that? Not even James Harden. Actually, I take that back. Maybe James Harden would do that. But overall, that's just a big dub for them. And of course, I think that Syracuse has been having some big games too this year, and I think that Syracuse, I watch Syracuse a lot. I mean, they're never gonna be that 03 team, but I think this year they had a lot of expectation too. They had a couple
they got Tyus Battle too.
Yeah.
He had a tough game.
I remember they had another big standout, high school standout. I forget his name, but he was going to Syracuse. But just what I'm saying is they're having a pretty decent season for Syracuse in general. And
they also held Louisville to 25.9% shooting from the field and 21.4% from behind the arc.
Yeah, that's big.
So their defense was really solid. Louisville only had one player in double figures in scoring. So that was a big win right there for Syracuse. Next one, North Carolina, the big basketball game here. North Carolina over number 1 Duke 88-72. Luke May, the senior, 30 points, 15 boards. Cameron Johnson, 26 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. As for Duke, RJ Barrett with 33 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists. Cam Reddish with 27 points. But the big story in this one was Zion Williamson leaving the game in the first 30 seconds after he suffered a mild knee sprain and his shoe ripped apart.
Yeah. Well, obviously we know about the whole Zion case. He'll be out against Syracuse as well.
Today, yeah.
But with Zion, that's tough, and it did spark a lot of anger from NBA players and a lot of just fans worldwide who said, that this is tough.
Yeah, he should just sit out there.
I mean, this was the biggest game of the year.
Right.
I mean, the most expensive game, and of course, you see the guy that you want to see do that in the first minute, not even. And of course, that stinks for the people that paid money to see Zion, but of course, it stinks for Zion himself because this is a big game, and he would have produced a lot of points for his team. And as we saw, both players, both their stars, R.J. Barrett and Cam Reddish, over 25, one with 35, one with 27.
Well, they played well
And
offensively,
but
they just
what I
couldn't
was gonna
stop
say
anybody.
is there was no factor on defense. I mean,
especially in the paint.
I've pointed out that you have Zion Williamson, who's a powerhouse offensively, but defensively he comes in huge. He's an athletic monster who has so much hustle to his game. Right. It's huge. But then, I talked about Cam Reddish's weakness. He's just a spot-up shooter. He doesn't have that much else to his game.
He didn't shoot the three ball that well, just 4 of 12.
Yeah.
Even though he put up 27.
I mean, and then RJ, he has that. RJ Barrett can not only contest, he can guard great, but he can score.
Got long arms.
But you do need Zion. You need Zion on that team just because he's the one who is kind of that orchestrator. He's a conductor of that defense and offense in that team. He's really big for that, and I think that's obviously. I mean, I know that's why they lost because they weren't able to stop the scoring from North Carolina.
And do you think he should play for the remainder of the season, or he should be?
I mean, there's little games left. I don't think that. I mean, I think that he should play at least the last game, just because what I always talk about that momentum, just so he gets used to it. In the first game he plays is
I believe
winner
there's
go
4
home.
or 5 games left. So.
Yeah, so I would say play the last 2 or 1, because I wouldn't want him the first game to be under pressure to the point where it's win or go home. So for Duke, of course they could win it for sure.
Yeah.
But you don't want him to be under that circumstance where Zion has to put his heart out into it, where if he was already playing and kind of used to it now, back into it, he'd be okay.
Right. Heading over to the next one, San Diego State over number 6 Nevada, 65-57. Jeremy Hemsley with 15 points, 6 rebounds. Devin Watson, 15 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists. Nevada only had 1 player in double figures, and as a team they shot 33.9% from the field and 28% from behind the arc. And this was Nevada's first loss since January 5th. They were currently on a 10-game winning streak.
Yeah, I mean, that's big for San Diego State going in, and obviously, like you said, limiting to only 1 double-digit point, and that's double-digit point scorer. And obviously that's big for them and a big win, and that was fueled over someone who was on a big roll. So.
Next one here, heading over to the NBA. Thursday, February 21st, the 76ers over the Heat, 106-102. Tobias Harris, 23 points and 11 rebounds. But Boban Marjanovic filling in for the injured Joel Embiid. He had 19 points, went 6 of 7 from the field with 12 rebounds. He actually tied a season high in points right there.
So Bobby and Toby are back, and I'm glad to see. Now, obviously, I'm not glad to see Joel Embiid hurt for now, and he's waiting, obviously, for what will be wrong with his knee. We'll get into that later, but I'm happy to see Boban Marjanovic on that starting 5. I love seeing that just because Bobby and Toby have always been working good, and Boban can hold his own at times, and of course, in a place like Philly where they run through that big man offense, he works good because he's 7'4".
In that first quarter, he had 11 points and 7 rebounds, so he was really dominating, especially in the first half.
Of course, and I love seeing Tobias Harris as well, as fast as it took for him to get used to that. Because, I mean, it's 2 different...
He's adapted really well.
Yeah, he really has. And you said it perfectly. He really has adapted well compared to that team that he was on with the Clippers. It was a totally different way of basketball with LA because it was running through Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Danilo. And, of course, Tobias Harris was able to go through that as well. And now it's kind of a big man... Not kind of. It is a big man offense and defense-wise. So Tobias Harris is also suited up big on the defense. And I like how they're moving, too, with Philly, how they go with their starting 5 on how they just move the players. It's kind of like a next man up thing. They put Redick at the 2, and they put, Butler is a shooting guard, they move him to the 3, and Harris, he would be a 3, but he goes to the 4. So they're moving good with that. But like I said, they have a super team. They just need a bench.
Yeah,
that's why the Warriors were so good. Because not only do they have a super team, but their bench is
But
ridiculous.
Philadelphia has a decent bench.
Solid. I mean, getting rid of
T.J. McConnell, Jonathan Simmons,
getting rid of Wilson Chandler and getting rid of Landry Shamet, that's tough because those 2 guys were big for them. Of course, Chandler was starting for a while, But you get what I'm saying. I think that they just needed just one more piece to the bench. Like if they were able to get Enes Kanter, that would have been
Right.
That would have been huge.
Well, speaking of, Trailblazers over the Nets 113-99, and Enes Kanter making his debut as a member of the Trailblazers, playing 20 minutes. He had 18 points on 8 of 9 shooting from the field and 9 rebounds. Yusef Nurkic led the way, though, 27 points, 10 of 15 from the field with 12 rebounds, 3 block shots, and just 28 minutes of play.
Well, this was a huge game for the Trailblazers, but speaking of the Blazers, you hear anything about Damian Lillard? Damian Lillard says that he wants
or CJ McCollum.
Yeah, well, Damian Lillard said that he wants to stay in Portland and he wants to build a dynasty. He doesn't want to go anywhere.
Loyalty.
He said that he will stay in Portland and he will make sure that that dynasty is what he built. He doesn't want to go to a self-built, like a dynasty that was already made. He wants to make sure that his players develop, he develops, and the team develops. And I think that that's huge. Obviously, Dame is my favorite player, so that was big to hear that not only does he have the talent, but he has that loyalty. And I was like, okay, Dave, I feel you.
And they have played well in the regular season, but when it comes to the playoffs,
crunch time, literally the Blazers, the past 15 years, it comes down to 2 players, Brandon Roy or Damian Lillard. That's how they win the games, and that's crazy. I mean, I remember against the Mavericks where Dame would hit those crazy shots, even the Rockets. I mean, the playoffs.
He had that game-winning shot to send him to the next round of the playoffs, too.
And, of course, like Damian Lillard, and Brandon Roy as well, as Brandon Roy hit the buzzer beaters. Just in the playoffs, they haven't been productive enough to not rely on those last minute. That's the thing with the Blazers.
Right.
Since the Bill Walton days, they haven't really, and Clyde Drexler. But since those days, they really haven't been able to make it past the first, like, in a good fashion, you know, because they come down to that last minute, and you don't want to do that in the playoffs, especially in the Western Conference, because some teams, like the first round in the Western Conference is a little, like, sketchy. There's a couple, you know, teams that'll be in there, like the Utah Jazz. I remember the Utah Jazz Clippers series where Joe Johnson would hit those game winners.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, like, it kind of comes down to the last game in the Western Conference, and then the next round, it's like, okay, this is huge. It's just, that's what I love about the Western Conference. But Damian Lillard, I think, I'm just so happy to hear that he is ready to really start
and hopefully they can turn around in the playoffs
winning.
as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that Enes Kanter is a huge pickup for them.
Yeah,
because, I mean, he does help. Of course, that big contract on Evan Turner doesn't really leave them that much, like, space in the free agency.
Right.
But if they can sign a solid small forward, then that'd be huge. I would love to see the Trailblazers succeed big next year.
Right. Heading over to the next one, a tough loss for the Celtics as they fall to the Bucks 98-97. Giannis Antetokounmpo, another huge game, 30 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 blocks. Kyrie Irving put up a team-high 22 points, but their shooting numbers were poor, 9 of 27 from the field with 5 assists, 2 steals. Al Horford had a great all-round night, 21 points, 17 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks. Kyrie Irving had the opportunity to make the game-winning shot. He was not able to cash in.
Of course.
Although in the 2-minute report they were saying about how many missed calls there were.
Yeah, and of course it came down to the Bucks hitting a 3 to really seal the deal at the end, and I think that this was a great game, and so with the Celtics, of course, like you just said, it came down to the calls, but also too many threes taken.
Yeah,
really.
Kyrie Irving did not shoot the ball well. He got some big shots up in the fourth quarter, hit 2 or 3 big threes. Also, Gordon Hayward was out with ankle soreness, and that was tough for us. We didn't shoot the ball well, 38.2% from the field. Only took 6 free throw attempts as well.
And one thing you mentioned about the Celtics with Gordon Hayward and that chemistry with them is I think that their big wins are, you know, usually helpful with Gordon Hayward at least playing. Because even if he doesn't play, so it comes down to, you know what I mean? It comes down to either, even if he doesn't play that well, they work better. If he does play well, they work really well.
Right.
It's just, I think that they're so used to now that, like, they already got used to Hayward on that team as a 3 that it helps so much for them. And even coming off the bench, he's been a big help for them. Obviously, he's not having the season everybody wanted, averaging, is it 13, I believe? I remember at one point of the season.
Now.
11? Okay, yeah. He was over then.
But he's improved in the months of January
yeah,
and February. He's gotten
he absolutely
better.
has.
Plus, you need to give him some time, too.
Yeah, and he's had some big scoring efforts, too. And, of course,
he's had 2 30-plus point efforts. So.
Yeah, and, I mean, that's huge for them. And I think that the Celtics, of course, this is a team that shouldn't be expected to go as far at the start of the season. And they're doing great, in my opinion, on how they work. Because the Celtics, obviously, in my opinion, I said that they're not going to be a powerhouse, but they will. They'll get once they get that chemistry. Because it's tough for the last 30 games-ish of the season. You don't have Hayward, you don't have Irving, so you get used to Brown, Rozier, and Tatum. So I think that's what really steered them.
And I'm not mad about the loss either. I mean, it's against the best team in the Eastern Conference. You put up a good fight. We had a player injured, so I can't really be mad at the loss. Heading over to the next one, though, Warriors over the Kings, 125-123. And Steph Curry showing why he is the greatest shooter of all time, knocking down 10 out of his 16 three-point attempts as he had 36 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. Kevin Durant, 28 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and a game-high 7 block shots.
So, I mean, you have the best scorer of all time in KD, in my opinion, and hands down, at this point, the best shooter of all time, Steph Curry. Because we've talked about how shooting changes your game. You don't stop being a shooter. Vince Carter showed that. You don't stop being a shooter. You can stop being athletic.
Same with Dirk.
Yeah. Yeah,
Dirk can still shoot the ball. He just really can't move that well anymore.
Yeah.
And he can't play as well.
So that's why he only shoots. You don't see him post up and fade away like he used to. He's got bad knees and bad legs. But, of course, with Curry, his scoring doesn't stop. His shooting doesn't stop. And I just love seeing this team work because they go so good. I mean, you think of other teams where you could just put superstars on and they won't click that well. So you put John Wall and Kevin Durant. I don't know if they work so well just because John Wall is ball heavy. That's why Bradley Beal doesn't always score when John Wall's there, because John Wall likes to kind of conduct that offense on him.
Bradley Beal's done better without John Wall
than John Wall does.
And the team has done actually better without him.
I think that with the Wizards, like you just said, Bradley Beal is doing better without John Wall than he does with John Wall.
And so is the team.
Yeah,
too. It's
absolutely.
Really amazing.
I think that Thomas Satoransky isn't their best option for the one. I feel like in the free agency they should have gone, or not free agency, in the trade deadline they should have gone for something. Even if it was someone like Ricky Rubio. Ricky Rubio would work great with Bradley Beal. We've seen Ricky Rubio work with good scores, and I mean obviously him with Mitchell, but somebody where he was in Minnesota, I mean where he would just put up huge assists with Cat in the first quarter. I remember that big game. But Rubio, and I would just love seeing that overall, because Satoransky, he's not doing too well, and Bradley Beal is, like you said, he's playing his best basketball that he ever has. And I think that the Wizards overall, it's just like that's a team that you couldn't compare, just like with John Wall. But Steph Curry and Kevin Durant, they work so good together, and really I think it's Steph Curry. I mentioned how they really are, and I mentioned how you could put Sean Livingston, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, and DeMarcus Cousins. They're not going nowhere. I mean, obviously they'll be a top 5 team.
For some reason, Curry seems to be like Kevin Durant's the better scorer.
Yeah.
But like Curry's I don't know if you can say the better player.
He's like the manager. Like he makes sure he's who will be the most beneficial.
The offense flows through him. They need him in that offense.
Yeah, absolutely. And even, I mean, I wouldn't say defense-wise, it's always has been Draymond Green, but he does show a lot. A lot of people underrate Curry's defense. I mean, he's no Klay Thompson, that's for sure, because Klay Thompson's defense is unspeakable. I love his defense and just what he does for man-on-man. But I think Steph Curry's defense is solid. He's a good stealer. I mean, he can definitely not clamp up, but he can play some good defense for sure.
Right. And then with the next one, Lakers over the Rockets, 111-106. LeBron James had his playoff mode activated. 29 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. He led a 19-point comeback. Also, Brandon Ingram, 27 points on 11 of 14 shooting from the free throw line with 13 rebounds. James Harden and Chris Paul both fouling out in this one.
Well, finally, the fouls go the other way. Right. But I think that this was just something that we both actually have, I'm pretty sure I've always mentioned about Brandon Ingram. He's too iffy. It's either
you don't know what
incredible.
You're gonna get out of him.
Yeah, it's either plus 25 or minus 15 with him where it comes to that box score. And I think that Brandon Ingram, he can, if he gets a little more weight on him, I think that, because I mean, you see how dominant he is in the paint at his size, and if he puts 50
and he can
more
drive
pounds,
to the hoop really well too because of his long arms.
Yeah, I mean he can really, like, I think that if, like, I mean, obviously, he's kind of like Kevin Durant size, but Kevin Durant just has some more strength on him. Obviously, Kevin Durant is skinny, but just, like, he's more lanky. And I think that Brandon Ingram and LeBron, it's so weird to me that they work out good, like, together, just because they're two threes, natural threes, who has moved LeBron down, and, of course, Ingram. It just, do you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm very surprised that they were both able to come in clutch efforts in a huge game. Big. So
and they need these wins too because I mean
if they need 16 out of the last 20 to win.
And they're still 3 games out of an 8th and final playoff spot too. So that was a huge win for them. They needed it. Heading over to Friday's games, Hornets over the Wizards, 123-110. Kemba Walker had 27 points, but his shooting numbers were not that great. 9 of 25 from the field. Nicholas Batum had a very good night. 20 points on 5 of 9 shooting from behind the arc with 8 rebounds, 5 assists. And we were just talking about Bradley Beal had a game high 46 points on 16 of 25 shooting from the field. Still wasn't enough. They've lost 3 straight.
I mean, yeah, of course with Bradley, like you said that they are playing better, but it isn't enough. I'm still fine with that if I'm a Wizards fan, as long is. Like, that's how I am with the Hawks. We'll talk about that later. I don't care if we're losing because I know we're going to, as long as my big guys step up, and in this case, your big player and Bradley Beal stepping up. And it's not like it's not like he's a point guard scoring 50 on a team that sucks, mainly because the team stinks. It's Bradley Beal doing this, and he's getting the feeds. The offense wants him to score. That's why he's scoring so much, and I think that he's doing a good job, and he's definitely opening eyes. I think what he's doing is he's opening eyes for free agency. Right?
And they're another one of those teams that are fighting for an Eastern Conference playoff spot. I don't know if they're going to get it. They're kind of far out. But
I mean, I'm pretty sure they're the 10th or 11th. They were above they were above the Hawks. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure. So. But it's like by 5 games. I'm not like saying go Hawks.
They still have a ways to go.
Yeah, they definitely do. I think that really the big competition is Heat Hornets. Those two have been going at it for the playoff spots, right?
Right.
For the 8th and 9th, I'm pretty sure.
And the Pistons are involved there too.
Yeah,
Pistons
wow, that's wild.
Yeah, we'll talk about them in a second. Heading over to the next one, Bulls over the Magic, 110-109. Lauri Markkanen with 25 points. He made 2 out of the 3 free throws with 1.5 seconds left to go in the fourth quarter to win it all for the Bulls.
Yeah, I mean, Markkanen, big Lauri, I love him, and he's definitely not, I mean, was he injured at all, I'm pretty sure?
At the beginning of the year.
Yeah, okay. So I was going to say he didn't start off huge, but he's definitely picked it back up, because last year he had a killer season. Yeah. I'd say he was a top 3 rookie last year.
Yeah, he should have been first team, I would think.
Yeah, I would say, because, I mean, last year was Mitchell, Ben Simmons, and probably Markkanen up there for the rookies. But, I mean, that was unexpected. I'll just say that. I was, those 3, obviously, Simmons had it. But, people got to realize, going into last season...
Yeah, Donovan Mitchell barely played,
Yeah,
too.
People weren't expecting that. I mean, I wasn't expecting those 3 to break out as much as they did. But anyway, back to the Bulls. I think that this team is very young. We've talked about them. Wendell Carter, when he is playing, of course. Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen. That's a young team. And
LaVine had 22 points last night,
too. Yeah, and that... I mean, he's been holding his own, too. He's having his best season yet.
Yeah, he's the team's leading scorer. I believe he averages 23 a game. So he's played well. The Bulls offensively are really good, but just defensively,
Wendell Carter does great on defense, too. He has a great defense. I mean, I think Markkanen's got to learn how to use his body more in the post because he's definitely lacks that a little. But Chris Dunn has always had that ability. I mean, his quickness has been a real big part of his game. And then LaVine's athleticism definitely helps them. This is a team that I think in a couple of years, if they keep this team, and of course Otto Porter, who's been playing pretty good, if you just keep this team and add a couple attributes needed to these players, I think that you could keep this team. When I say attributes, I mean give Lauri the strength on defense he needs, give Chris Dunn, just more quickness and strength, and I think that they could really develop into a powerhouse team in the Eastern Conference. I truly do think that.
Me too. Heading over to the next one. Raptors over the Spurs, 120-117. As DeMar DeRozan made his return to Toronto since he was traded in the offseason. He had 23 points on 7 of 12 shooting from the field, 9 of 9 from the free throw line with 4 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals. But Toronto and Kawhi Leonard was just too much. Kawhi with 25 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and as you were talking about, had the game-winning steal and the game-winning dunk to win it all.
I mean, that was huge, and of course, just a lot of... I mean, DeMar DeRozan is, one of my favorite current prime players. Him in his prime a couple years ago, that's one of my favorite, current prime players. I just loved watching DeMar DeRozan, and of course, this year, I really wish that he got the better of the trade just because I like DeMar DeRozan more than Kawhi. And this year, having a pretty rough season in the Western Conference. I mean, I'm talking about for the Spurs in general.
Oh, for the Spurs? Yeah, they're the 7th spot right now.
And, of course, they're missing their number 1 point guard. And, of course, LaMarcus Aldridge, he's been doing pretty solid.
Yeah.
But those two, I don't think that they're enough, really, just because the rest of the team hasn't been playing well. Forbes as well, and White. Those guys, they've kind of been the crease. And I talked about how I wish they didn't get rid of Kyle Anderson because I'm a big Kyle Anderson guy.
Right.
And I think that he could have definitely helped them. But this was just... What I'm trying to say is this was just kind of I knew that the Raptors were going to win, but I didn't think it was going to come down to that. Because, I mean, the Raptors at this point are another big playoff contender.
Yep, second best team in the Eastern Conference.
And I think that the Eastern Conference Finals just might come down to that, and that'd be incredible if it did. I mean, Bucks Raptors, that'd be one of the best conference finals that I've seen. I would love to see that happen because 2 totally great teams, and I think that it's safe to say the Bucks have the best bench in the league. I mean, George Hill, Nikola Mirotic, those guys are enough. Yeah, Ersan Ilyasova, George Hill. I mean, both of them. DJ Wilson has definitely been he came out of nowhere too.
Yeah, he's provided some good minutes off the bench when Giannis is on the bench, so he's done well with that. Heading over to a tough game here for the Hawks as they drop to the Pistons 125-122. Reggie Jackson putting up a season-high 32 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists. Andre Drummond with a monster double-double, 26 points, 21 rebounds, 5 steals. Blake Griffin was ejected in the third quarter after picking up his second technical. He had 15, though. Trae Young, one of the only brighter spots in this loss, he had 30 points and 10 assists.
So Andre Drummond does something that I wouldn't expect him to do, but my circumstances said that I wouldn't say that. I said that Andre Drummond wouldn't do 20 and 20 if Blake Griffin was playing. Blake Griffin was playing only up until the third quarter, so my opinion stands that he won't do 20 and 20 in a 4-quarter game with Blake Griffin playing. But still, huge performance from Drummond and, of course, Reggie Jackson coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, he's had a real tough season.
I mean, he's been playing well for the last 2 seasons since leaving the Thunder. I don't think that he could even say that he's been a solid point guard, really.
Right.
But I will talk about, of course, my man Trae Young, 30 and 10, and of course that. The fake behind or between the leg pass, pulls it up, boom.
And then he faked Bruce Brown on that play too. He had him turning in circles.
He really just showed up last night, and I think that it came down to the wire, but that's the Pistons' fault. How are you gonna let us come down to the wire? Like, come on, man.
With the game-winning 3-point shot.
I know, that was crazy.
Heading over to the next one here. Thunder over the Jazz in a wild one, 148-147 in double overtime. PG-13 Paul George, 45 points, hit the game-winning floater with 1.6 seconds left. Also had 9 rebounds, 7 assists. Russell Westbrook had a huge game as well, 43 points, 15 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals before he fouled out of the contest.
And this is another situation where Paul George comes in clutch when Russell Westbrook, who I'm pretty sure he still leads in go-ahead buckets in the final moments of like the game to win it. For a while he was leading that by like 2 ahead of Jimmy Butler. But not only did Paul George come in clutch against the 76ers when Russell Westbrook fouled out, comes in clutch against a big Western Conference team in the Jazz, and this could be a potential playoff game too between these two, as we saw last year. And also with this team, as I mentioned to you earlier, with like when we were just off camera talking about this, Paul George and Russell Westbrook, I am so happy to see these guys clicking together and benefiting each other in the team. Because last year, if they would put up big numbers, they wouldn't win. And it was either one or the other. This year, both players above 40.
Yep. Now they're the third best team in the Western Conference, too. And
that's awesome. I love seeing this, and this is a team that we just keep talking about. I hope that we see this team versus the Warriors. I hope it's Warriors Thunder. If that happens,
that's a great Western Conference matchup there.
That would be incredible. And this time maybe 3-1 leads taken or blown. So this might go down as one of the best playoffs for a while. So I also have a question about the playoffs. Do you think that the league will ever adapt that just 1 through 16 seed?
I hope not. I don't like that.
Right I really do. Just because it would literally be 10 Western Conference teams.
Yeah, it would be every 6, Western Conference team. It would be the top 4 Eastern Conference teams. Yeah. So it would be the Celtics, 76ers, Bucks,
the Bucks and Raptors, and maybe the Nets. If the Jazz or if the Clippers die down and they don't do too good. I would not like that, but I think that it might happen just because the league has been buzzing about that for 10 years now. And it's really since the Heat. Yeah, since the Heat, when the Eastern Conference kind of died down. Because, the Celtics were doing great, the Sixers, the Bulls, and, of course, the Raptors. They were playing good, too, with Bosh on that team. And when they left, that's kind of when the Eastern Conference went from a stacked division to definitely not as what they once were.
All right. So, heading over to the NBA news now and starting off with the Raptors signing free agent guard Jody Meeks to a 10-day contract.
Well, I saw talks. I don't know if it was real. Raptors were discussing a 10-day contract with Ray Allen. Was that fake?
Yeah, that must have been fake.
Because no way. I saw that on multiple sports accounts, though. I don't know. I'll look into it later on and see if it was actually real. But I think signing Jody Meeks,
It's a good pickup. Get some good 3-point shooting off the bench.
Why though? Like 10 days? Like,
why not? They need to fill a roster spot anyway.
Is it like Andre Ingram or something? Like, I know he retired this year, but still, like, you got like a 10-day contract. Go on, man.
I can't be mad at that because they could sign him
Oh,
to
yeah.
the end of the season.
Oh,
too.
they could. I just think that it like this far in. I mean, of course, like you said, roster filler, and he has had solid
And also,
seasons.
Fred VanVleet's out too, so they need more scoring off the bench.
I mean, they did have Jeremy Lin come up, so I mean, Jeremy Lin is totally fine for me to replace Fred VanVleet.
Right.
And definitely fine for me getting him off the Hawks.
Heading over to the next one here. Joel Embiid experiencing left knee soreness. He will be reevaluated in 1 week. Fortunately, there is no structural damage, as the MRI revealed.
Well, that's big for the Sixers, not losing Embiid, and I think that for the time being, Boban will play pretty good for them.
Rockets signing power forward Terrence Jones to a 10-day contract. He played with Houston back from 2012 to 2016, and he's had a fantastic year in the G League, averaging 23 points, 9 rebounds, and nearly 6 assists per game.
Yeah, I mean, that's another, like, that's a solid pickup for them, and of course bringing him back, and I think that, I think that can help them a lot, just to bring up that factor of players.
Plus, they need some more scoring off the bench, too. They've
had a lot of players that just, like I mentioned about just that team in general on how they need more to it.
Because they only bring like 3 or 4 guys off the bench, too, and not for very long either. Next one here, DeMarcus Cousins no longer on a minutes restriction, and he's played well this season, averaging 14 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, over a steal and a block a game. He's only shot 43% from the field in 12 games, but I would think his numbers are going to go up now with the minutes restriction, and his numbers aren't going to rise to a crazy amount, obviously, because of the talent the Warriors already have on the offensive side.
I mean, he's definitely playing great for what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting a lot. I wasn't even really expecting him to play to the playoffs just because of the injury he went through.
Right.
I mean, that's just not an injury that you recover from. And Kobe's taught us. Wilkins recovered from it, but I just was not expecting that to happen.
Right. Next one here, Karl-Anthony Towns missed the first game of his 303-game career due to a concussion as he was involved in a car accident on Thursday night. The Timberwolves did, though, end up beating the Knicks on Friday night.
Whoop-de-doo. I mean, the Knicks can beat the Hawks, though, so I can't talk that much.
Next one here, Jaren Jackson Jr. unfortunately suffered a right quad injury and will be sidelined for the foreseeable future. And just the season goes from bad to worse now for the Grizzlies.
For the Grizzlies, yeah. I mean, I'd say awful to worse as well. I mean, we were talking about January. It was just not their month.
Right.
And, of course, the Grizzlies, they're one of the teams that I said to you, the Magic and the Grizzlies are the 2 teams in the NBA that I just don't really know that much about. I just don't have fun watching them. I mean, since like JaMychal Green, I really don't care about them that much. I know I don't watch them that much really, and I don't think I will. I mean, I know a little bit about the Magic and some of their players, but just like these young teams, I don't know too much about just because I'm too busy like with other teams. And this Grizzlies team, I know getting rid of Gasol, it's obviously not what they. I feel bad for Conley, is all I'm trying to say. I just wish that he had a little better team. He has nothing. He has nothing. So that's all I'm saying.
Now getting into our final topic now, some NFL news. Starting off with the Steelers not using the franchise tag on Le'Veon Bell, making him an unrestricted free agent. Where are some teams you think he's going to fall to?
Not Green Bay, I'm just kidding. But the Steelers, so with Antonio Brown, which we'll mention a little, we'll get into more, but I think that the Steelers have no say in where Le'Veon Bell can land. Steelers have say on where Antonio Brown will land because they don't want him in the AFC. Okay, which makes sense. I would totally agree with that. If I'm in the NFC and I have a player that be giving up, like if I'm giving up Devontae Adams or Aaron Rodgers, I don't want him to go to NFC. I want him to go to the AFC because I don't want some liability to go to the playoffs. Right. So I see where they're coming from, but with Le'Veon Bell, they have no say in. So I could see him going to a team. If we're talking, do you think? So we're personally, do you think AFC or NFC? You think AFC?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter for him either, because I would say the Jets could be a team he'd go to.
In the AFC, I mean, I'm thinking of teams that, like, need running backs. I could see him going to, like the Ravens, a team like that, I could see him going to.
They do need a running back.
They really need a running back. Gus Edwards isn't enough for it in my books. No. In the Jets, that'd be another solid team. They have a lot of money, correct? Yeah. I'm pretty sure they have a lot of salary on them. And a team like the NFC, Packers, no, I'm kidding. But I don't think we even have enough. I mean, we have enough salary, but we don't want offense. We want defense. We want to sign Jadeveon Clowney, but I don't think he's going to come.
Maybe the Lions, too.
Yeah, that'd be.
That's the team I was thinking of.
I mean, I would hope not.
Just cause that'd be bad for him. That'd be horrible for him, but
yeah.
I don't know if he's just going after the money, though.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't think that he'd be going after the money just because his career is far from over and he has a lot of winning he needs to do to validate his career as a whole.
Right.
I mean, you don't want to turn into a Carmelo Anthony, as I always say, but win. Like, you should just win.
Next one here, Giants safety Landon Collins cleaned out his locker room and said his goodbyes to teammates, coaches, and trainers. Now, he is a free agent, so he can go wherever he pleases.
I'd take him. I would take him.
He's one of the only brighter spots for the Giants
Yeah,
defense
I mean,
the past couple of years.
Eli Apple's solid first season. That's it. He went to the Saints, correct?
Yes.
Eli Apple? Yeah. And just their defense has really fallen apart. I'd say 3 years ago, they had a solid defense when they made it to the playoffs. I mean, I forgot who took them out the playoffs. Not the Packers, was it? It was. Hail Mary to Randall Cobb, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, just that like you just said, that Giants defense has totally been like not what they wanted for the past couple years. Losing big guys, and of course JPP definitely kind of lost his peak.
He hasn't been the same.
I mean, I don't think that I was expecting him to play good after that incident, but he definitely had some good seasons. But that's just all I'm trying to say with them. Their defense has definitely fluctuated.
Right. Next one here, Bears releasing kicker Cody Parkey.
Poor guy. I mean,
not surprising news though.
Triple doinked the thing, or double doinked. He
hit the upright and the crossbar.
He did one of the most like impressive kicks of all time.
He should have gotten 5 points for that.
Like I mean, like that kick was incredible. It wasn't what you wanted to happen, and I mean, like, it was pointless. They let Nick Foles keep going just for him to lose. Like, it wasn't like they let the magic continue. Like, he did. Like, I think that the Bears could have made it farther if they won that than the Eagles, just because they were, like, the Bears had a better team overall. Overall team.
Especially on the defensive end.
Yeah, but of course, Nick Foles came in clutch at the end with that huge pass. That was crazy. That even led to that double doink. But getting rid of Cody Parkey is, like, a little just, like, expected. I thought it was going to happen sooner than later.
Right. And the final thing here, the Steelers have heard from 3 teams for a potential Antonio Brown trade. Steelers prefer to trade Brown to an NFC team, as we expected.
Yeah, no. I hope the Packers pursue this. I
think the Packers are in the running. I mean, they said an NFC team, so
yeah,
they're definitely in there.
And this is a team that Antonio Brown would want to play with. I know he'd want to play with Aaron Rodgers. I know he would want to play with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. I know he'd want to do that. That'd be incredible. I would love that. But I say the teams that you mentioned, that's huge.
The Cardinals,
49ers, Cardinals, and Saints. I mean, I would say the Packers over the Saints in my books, but I think 49ers are number 1. Just because they have a lot to offer, and who doesn't want to play in San Fran?
Right.
And of course, a young QB in Jimmy G. I would love that. So I hope that the Packers do pursue Antonio Brown, though, and do what they can. Even if they don't get him, and if I hear that they tried, I'll be happy. Like, literally, if I get an alert saying that, like, after he's traded, if the Packers tried, I'll be happy as a management. Because, I mean, that's what you want to do. That shows that if we would go for Antonio Brown, that we would go for other players, too.
Right.
So, like, that's it for Straight Facts, and tune in next time.